For the very first problem, we have two binomials. Notice that they're side by side, okay? What I mean by that is there's not a plus sign, there's not a minus sign separating them. Therefore, this is a multiplication problem. This is FOILing. So multiply x times x first to get x squared. X times positive 5 to get 5x. And then here, 7 times x to get 7x. And then 7 times 5, which is positive 35. Now, if you do it the way that I've done it here, the only like terms that we have that we can combine are right next to each other. They're the terms that have x in common. So x squared is not going to change in this case. It's still going to remain x squared. 5x plus 7x is positive 12x, and then just keep positive 35. And that is your answer to the very first one. All right, let's see. For the second one, what does it say? It says x squared minus 81 equals 0. What is or are the positive values of x? Now, this one here, there's actually two ways that you can solve this. This is a difference of perfect squares. I like to set these up by taking two sets of parentheses. Now, if we took the square root of that very first term, that would give us x. If we took the square root of this very last term, that would give us 9. The square root of 81 is 9. Now, I said these are a difference of perfect squares, so we want these two parentheses to have different signs. Now, if you were to set each of these equal to 0 and solve, we would get x equals 9. We would get x equals negative 9. Since it wants to know the positive value, that's your answer for this one. Only 9. It wants to know what is the positive value. If you want to see the other way that it's done, just let me know. I'll be happy to show you the other way, but I don't want to make things too confusing for the time being. Example 3. What does it say for example 3? If a equals 8, what is the value of b in this equation? So they've told us a is 8. So we're going to have b equals, I'm going to substitute. Instead of a, we're going to do 8. And now we're going to begin simplifying. 8 squared is 64. Now we can divide here. 64 divided by 4 is 16. (16 plus 4 is 20. Now we know what b is. It's 20. What does example 4 say? The ratio of boys to girls in a school is 2 to 3. So 2 to 3 boys and girls. If there are 600 students in a school, how many boys are in the school? So I'm going to try to break this down a little bit here for you. Let's look at the numbers they gave us. The ratio is 2 to 3. Let's think about that. Let's just add them first. 2 plus 3 is 5, right? So let's pretend we had a class of 5 kids. How'd you get 5? 2 plus 3 is 5. Now, if we had a class of 5 kids, then 2 out of the 5 kids are boys. 3 out of the 5 kids are girls. Now we know what fractions we can use to help us solve this problem. So going back to the problem, it says, if there are 600 students in a school, how many boys are in the school? Well, now that we know what fraction we need to use, we're solving for boys here, we can do 2/5 times 600. And that will give us the amount of boys in the school. Now, if you don't remember how to multiply a fraction with the whole number, here's what I like to do. Let's convert this whole number to a fraction by putting the whole number over 1, and then simply multiply numerator times numerator. 2 times 600 is 1200 over 5 times 1, which is 5. Now we can divide. And I'm going to show you how to do long division here in case you don't remember. So you're going to take the top number divided by the bottom number. And just start working from left to right. Does 5 go into 1? No, it doesn't. Does 5 go into 12? Yes, it does. Twice. And 2 times 5 is 10. And if you subtract these numbers, we get 2. Bring down any remaining number. Now, 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Bring down any remaining number. And 5 does not go into 0. Now, this 0 here is not necessary. There are 240 boys in the school. Okay, 5. What is the area of an isosceles triangle that has one leg? Oh, I missed a key word there. I'm sorry. What is the area of an isosceles right triangle that has one leg that measures 6 centimeters? So here's what we need to know about an isosceles triangle. 2 legs are exactly the same measure. And it said it's a isosceles right triangle. Okay, these 2 sides here represent the legs. This is the hypotenuse. So it told us one leg of the isosceles triangle is 6 units of measure. Therefore, this leg must also be 6. The formula for area of a triangle, of this particular triangle, is 1/2 base times height. We know the base, we know the height. So 1/2 times 6 times 6. 1/2 times 6 is 36. 1/2 times 36, or what is half of 36? That would be 18. Okay, question 6. Simplify 10 minus 2/3 x is greater than or equal to 12. Normally we're solving for equations. This time we're solving for an inequality. And a lot of times when you're doing equations or inequalities, solving for them, you want to do your order of operations backwards. That's PEMDAS. Gosh, I haven't done this in a while. Let me just write it frontwards first. PEMDAS. There we go. Okay, that's how we need to do it. Get rid of that. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start backwards. Is there anything we can add or subtract away from x first? There is. We can subtract that 10 away first. (12 minus 10 is 2. Next, is there anything we can multiply or divide away first? What I would do here is I would get rid of this denominator first by multiplying both sides by 3. So multiply this side by 3, multiply this side by 3. When we do that, these 3's cancel one another out, leaving us with negative 2x is greater than or equal to 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, we subtracted something away, we multiplied something away, now we can divide something away. Negative 2 times x. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. Now remember, if you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative, the inequality flips. X is less than or equal to negative 3. That's the final answer. Okay, number 7. What is a common factor of both x squared minus 2x minus 8 and x squared minus 6x plus 8? The way that you factor a trinomial is multiply the number in front, in this case 1, times the number in back, in this case -8. 1 times -8 is -8. Then list all the factors of that particular number. 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Now you want to look here. That sign tells you what your factors must do to get that number. They must subtract to get 2. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2, so these are the factors we're going to use. Now we're going to look at this sign again. This last symbol tells you these two numbers are going to have different signs. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. When they're going to be different, look here. Whatever that is, it will go to the biggest number every time. Now I'm going to show you the long way in case you don't remember how to do this, but what you do from here is you do a factor by grouping problem. Beginning with x squared, now substitute your factors and give them an x. Now if you're wondering how did you get all that, just look here. X squared is still x squared. If you combine these two factors, which I got here, 2x minus 4x, we get the middle term here. And then minus 8, minus 8. Okay, now we want to factor by grouping. Out of this group, they have an x in common, so we'd factor that out. And that would leave us with x plus 2. Whatever this middle symbol is, bring it down, don't forget it. Out of this group here, we can factor out of 4, leaving us with x plus 2 again. Keep the outside terms in one set of parentheses. And then keep only one set of the matching parentheses. So that's what this trinomial factors to. Now I'm going to show you the faster way. Warning, this only works if the leading coefficient, this leading coefficient, was 1. It will not work if it's any other number. Okay, so let's begin the same way that we did the previous example. Number in front times number in back. 1 times 8 is 8. The factors of 8 are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Now look here. This time they have to add to get 6. Well, 2 plus 4 is 6, so we're still going to use the same factors. But now look, this last symbol is now addition. If the last symbol is addition, it means these are going to be the exact same signs, either plus, plus, or minus, minus. When this is addition, look here. That tells you what they're both going to be. They're both going to be minus. Now, our final answer is x minus 2, x minus 4. We just skipped all this stuff here because as long as your leading coefficient is 1, you know what your factors are and their symbols. Look, this was plus 2, this was minus 4 in the previous example, remember? Look what happened. So we can do that same thing here. We know what the factors are, we know what the symbols are. Okay, it wants to know what is the common factor. Well, it looks like they have x minus 4 in common. So that's your answer, x minus 4. Okay, example 8. We have all of this. And then it wants to know, well, what does b equal? If we have this problem, what does b equal? Here's what you want to take a look at. You want to take a look at the denominators. Okay, this denominator has a 6 and a b squared. This has a denominator of 6b. This one just has b squared. So let's just try to look at that individually. A 6, a b, and b squared. We want to keep, I guess, for lack of a better term here, the biggest of all of this. So here's what I mean. We're dealing with a number here and here. Here, we're dealing with letters. Letter, 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 number, number, no number. I guess it's 1, but whatever. So we want to keep the biggest number. So we want to keep 6. Now we have a letter, b squared, b, and b squared. We want to keep the biggest. That is b squared. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure our denominators look just like that. This denominator looks just like that. So we don't need to mess with anything here. This denominator has a 6. It has a b, but it needs to be squared. So we're going to have to multiply this denominator by b. And anything you do to the bottom, you got to do the top. So we have to multiply that numerator by b. Now look here. This has a b squared, but it doesn't have a 6. So we're going to have to multiply the denominator by 6. And since we did that to the denominator, we have to do that to the numerator also. Now, trust me, from here on, you do not need the denominators anymore. You just need the numerators. This one is simply 1 plus, this is 1 times b equals 1 times 6. And now we can solve for b by combining our like terms. So subtract 1, b equals 5. Oops, sorry. That's your final answer. Example 9, if two angles in a triangle measure 53 degrees and 45 degrees, what is the value of the third angle? No, I don't think a picture here is really necessary, and this is a bad example because I just drew a right triangle. That's not necessarily going to be the thing here, but just go with me. We'll say this is 53 degrees. This is 45 degrees. This we don't know. Well, here's what you need to remember. All angles of a triangle measure to 180 degrees. So one thing that you could do is you could see, well, what is the sum of these two angles here? We could do 45 plus 53. Add them up. 5 plus 3 is 8. 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so the measure of these two angles is 98 degrees. Since x plus all of this has to equal 180 degrees, I guess what you could do is you could just do 180 and subtract 98. And that would give us our missing angle. Okay. So we're going to have to borrow one from our neighbor here. 10 minus 8 is 2. We're going to have to borrow one from our neighbor here. 17 minus 9, 17, 16, 15, 14, 15, 11, 10, 9, 8. 82. And we have nothing less than this column here. The other angle must be 82 degrees. And you can check to see if you did it right. If you're like, I haven't done subtraction in a really long time. Did I do these right? Well, did it add these two together? And they should equal 180 degrees if you did it right, which we did. We did it right. And then lastly, example 10. P to the 4th power times P to the 5th power. Okay, here's what we need to remember. When we're multiplying a base that have exponents, the multiplication property of exponents states when we multiply, we actually add the exponents, and the base does not change. So we're going to carry over the p and simply add 4 and 5 to get 9. Final answer, p to the 9th. That concludes this first half. I'll work on the second half as soon as I can and get that to you.